Recently, I've become a little concerned about the way mindfulness is being misunderstood, misused, becoming a bit of a commodity. It's become a business for people. And a lot of it is not actually working on what mindfulness is all about. It's a really watered down version of mindfulness. So, mindfulness should never and was never set up to be a standalone thing. It was part of a whole practice. So it's quite dangerous in some ways to take out mindfulness as just a single standalone thing and use it like that, which most people in the mindful movement are using today. So everybody that knows me will tell you that I'm not a traditionalist. So I'm not arguing this point from any, Buddhist traditional point. But what I am arguing it from is that it needs to be based in more than just bringing yourself into the present moment, more than just breathing or just checking in with your body. It has to be more than that. In Buddhism, mindfulness is part of our three teachings, which is on ethics, contemplation or awareness, and wisdom. So the mindfulness practice has to have all of those three. It can't just take the middle one, the awareness, without the ethics and without the wisdom. But this is exactly what the mindful movement are doing. They're just taking the awareness part out. And that's where problems are coming. So even their definition of mindfulness is not right. I mean, to define mindfulness in 2 lines is impossible anyway. But if I read you what the definition of mindfulness is, or what they say it is in the mindful movement. So, mindfulness is an awareness of what is happening in the present moment, brought about by purposeful paying attention in a non judgmental way. Okay, mindfulness is so much more than that. If mindfulness was just an awareness of what was happening in the present moment, then every dog would be enlightened because every dog is aware of what is happening in the present moment. So it can't just be about that. It can't be just bring your awareness into the present moment. And it certainly cannot be non judgmental. How would that work? So, okay, I'm just doing things, I'm not thinking, I'm doing things from habit, it's something I've always done. Then I just bring myself, and the thing I'm doing is actually harming somebody else. So I just bring myself back to the present moment and I don't judge. I don't judge that I'm harming somebody. Then how can we change? How can mindfulness help us change and grow if we're not judging? How do you decide what you're going to eat for breakfast without judging? How did you choose your career without judging? How on earth did you get dressed this morning without judging? We make judgments, we make decisions. So being mindful isn't about not being judgmental. We have to make a judgment. When we're brought back into the present moment, we have to make a judgment. Is this, you know, a particularly good moment, or is this a moment that, I need to work on? Am I doing, ethical things in this moment? Or am I doing unethical things, harmful things? We have to make a judgment. So just to say that mindfulness is awareness of what is happening now and don't bother judging it, I don't know how that can work. In fact, I don't believe it can work. So when we bring ourselves into the present moment, there has to be something we do. And in that something, there has to be ethics, awareness, and wisdom. Those three have to be part of that present moment. Else, we're never going to grow and we're never going to change. And then mindfulness is not going to work for us. So it's important that we incorporate these three things: ethics, awareness or concentration, and wisdom into the teachings of mindfulness. I was recently interviewing John Bruner, and he's the co founder of Mindfulness in Recovery. And we spoke a little bit about that. And it was actually after talking to him that I decided to write something about a practice of how we can, when we brought into the present moment, how we can work with the three teachings of ethics and awareness and wisdom. But he was saying that he'd just read a study about people who are doing this new mindfulness. And these people have been taught to be non judgmental, and they did their meditation and their reflections non judgmentally. And what they found out when they did the study was that these people became less empathic and less compassionate because they just became accepting. Somebody is hurting. I'm not judging that. They're hurting. Somebody is being abused. I'm not judging that. So you see how by misunderstanding and misrepresenting mindfulness, how it can become a dangerous tool. So it isn't just about breathing, bringing ourselves into the present moment and being non-judgmental. That definition is so narrow, and in the part of non-judgment, it's wrong. So what should we be doing? So let's start from the beginning then. So we want to bring ourselves into the present moment. So what people are teaching you is to use your breath. Okay, great. There's many great practices where we can use our breath, bring ourselves into the present moment. We can check in with our bodies to bring ourselves into the present moment, or we can use our senses to bring ourselves into the present moment. Why all of those things are perfectly fine is because all of those things are in the present moment. When we're breathing, we can only breathe in the present moment. We can't breathe 10 minutes in the future or 10 minutes in the past. We can only breathe now in the present moment. So, by becoming aware of your breath or doing a breathing awareness practice, is a good way of bringing yourself into the present moment. The same with our senses. When we use our five senses, we can only use those five senses in the present moment. We can only see what is here now, and smell and taste and hear and touch. What is here now? So, another great practice for bringing yourself into the present moment. And again, your body, this thing that carries you around, is always in the present moment. There's never a time when your body isn't in the present moment. Your mind, okay, your mind could be way off. It could have gone way into the future or way back into the past, but not the body. The body will always be in the present moment. So again, it's a good thing to use to bring ourselves back into the present moment. So any of those practices of using your breath, using your senses, using your body are all great practices to bring you back into this present moment. So now we've done an exercise and we've brought ourselves back into the present moment. Now, what are we going to do? Are we going to not judge this present moment? Because how are we going to change? So, what I'm suggesting is now that we use a practice that I've just developed called aware. So aware stands for attention, why, assess, reality, and examine. And in this aware practice, we cover ethics, we cover the awareness, a concentration, attention, and we cover the wisdom. So A stands for attention. So when we brought ourselves back into the present moment, bring your clear attention to what you're doing. So by clear attention, I'm using the words that Buddha used, clear attention, which means when you're standing, know you're standing. When you're sitting, know you're sitting. When you're walking, know you're walking, and so on. So this is what is meant by clear attention. So the aim means to bring our attention into whatever we are doing. Are we doing it on autopilot? Are we just being blindly led by our unconscious mind? So we're being blindly led by our habits and our biases and our behavior. So, first of all, when you're brought back into the present moment, you bring clear attention to whatever you were doing. Then the W is why? Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is my motivation? What is my intention? So, by doing that, we're bringing some wisdom because we're learning instead of just blindly doing something. Now we're bringing wisdom. So, the first part covers the attention part of the three teachings. This one, it covers the wisdom part. We get to know, why am I doing this? The A stands for assess. So assess your behavior. Is it beneficial? Is your behavior, what you're doing, is it beneficial to you or to other people? Is it ethical? Is it helping me or helping somebody else? Is it compassionate or is it unkind? So we need to assess our behavior. And so this is where ethics come into it. Am I being ethical? And am I also being the person I want to be? We all have a view of who we want to be. So the practice, the thing that I'm doing now, my behavior now, is that who I want to be? We assess that situation. Then the R is, and the R is again back to wisdom. So the R is what I'm doing based in reality? Or am I just generalizing or catastrophizing or just allowing my imagination to run wild? So we need to bring it back to reality. So when our mind goes off into the future, we become quite anxious because we tell ourselves stories. A thought came into our head, I'm going to get this virus. It's just a thought. You could have let that thought go, but you didn't. You hung on to that thought and you built on that thought. You built a story around that thought. Oh, I'm going to get the virus. I'm going to lose my job. I'll infect my family. I'm going to die. I could kill lots of people. And once we've built that story, then we start to believe that story. And once we start believing that story, then we become anxious. So our brains can't tell the difference between fact or fiction, or fact or fantasy. And this is a fantasy. This is a story you're telling yourself. But now you've built this story, you're believing this story, and you're becoming anxious from that story. So quite clearly, this story is not based in reality. So the R is to have a look, what am I doing? Is it based in reality? And the E is then examine a more mindful, beneficial, compassionate way to act, a way that's based in fact and not in fantasy, and a way that will help support you and help support others. So, this is what we should be doing when we brought ourselves into the present moment. It's no good just being in the present moment and just say, I'm not judging anything, leave it at be, whatever it is. We're never going to grow and change. Once we're in the present moment, we need to do the aware practice. So A is paying attention to whatever you're doing. The W is asking yourself, why am I doing it? The A is assess your behavior. Is it ethical? Is it who I want to be as a person? The R is to check that whether it's in reality or whether I've just let my mind go off and take me into places where it's a fantasy, it's not a real world. And the E is examine a more mindful, more compassionate, more beneficial way to act. If you do this, then this is mindfulness. This is covering all the aspects of mindfulness. It's covering your ethics side of it. It is covering the attention and concentration side of it, and it's covering the wisdom side of it. So now your mindfulness practice is based more in reality. It's helping you change, it's helping you grow, and it is helping you understand why you're doing something and is it a good thing to do or not. If you do that, bring yourself into the present moment and use the aware practice, then that is mindfulness. And that is going to help you grow. It's going to help you change. It's going to help you to become the person that you really want to be, the person you think that I need to be, I want to be that person. This practice will help you become that person. And it will also help you to become more compassionate and more empathic. And it will give you a path that you can go down where you can change, you can grow, and you can help other people. So bring yourself into the present moment and do the aware practice. And then you're on the right path to being mindful.